pile in before we get started. Broadcasting from the phone in my living room, which y'all never get to see. I promise though, you will get to see more down here. I got plans for, some other style videos, some longer formatted videos, movie reviews, and, you know, that stuff is going to be coming. I'm getting set up for that right now. I just completed my little home theater setup. It's not fancy in terms of the audio. Got a pretty good sound bar to go with my TV. And so I'm going to be spending a lot more time down here. I'm also building a second computer so that I can capture video while I'm watching TV down here. So right behind me, you can see the TCL. It's a 98-inch TCL. I just got it a couple weeks ago or last week. And we're going to start having events and stuff and hosting people, you know, here at home. But let's get down to the matter. As many of you may know, I am a resident of the greater Portland, Oregon area, the west side of Portland, Hillsboro. The Hillsboro Beaverton area is home to Nike. It's home to Intel. There's a lot of money out here, let's put it that way. I live in what's known as the Silicon Forest. Having worked in Silicon Valley, having worked in Sacramento, and living here in Oregon in the Silicon Forest, working for Intel for 10 years. I no longer work for them, but I did. And I've been now with another organization, a local organization, for almost 10 years as well. So that's basically my history here in Oregon. Now, I am a lifelong hoops fan, as many of you know, and a Trailblazer faithful. I go to at least 8 to 10 games a year at the Moda. I think probably going to go tomorrow night. We have a game. I can't even remember who the opponent is, but I really regretted not going down to the opening night game, which was great. Anthony Edwards showed out, 41 points. And he was a game time decision, which is why I didn't go. I didn't want to spend $200 on tickets and Anthony Edwards didn't show up. That has happened to me before via Kawhi Leonard. So I didn't go. I regret it now because that was Chauncey Billups' last game as the Trailblazers head coach. I had no idea, right? So I went to bed. Well, I guess this story broke this morning. The Blazers played last night. So I went to bed last night mad because of this stupid loss we took. Salute to Happy Everyday Nat. Happy every day to you. Said hi. Okay. Anyway, went to bed angry over losing because I felt like Drew Holiday sold us down the river. We had that game in hand. We were up 8 points with like 2 minutes left, and we were the first over 100 by 5, which is an 85% chance of winning in the NBA. So I was really disappointed, but woke up this morning, and the first thing I see on my phone is Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups arrested by the FBI in Portland. And I'm like, hold up. I've had some dreams that I woke up from and wasn't sure if I was still dreaming or not, right? So it started to hit me. It took a second. Like, Chauncey Billups, Chauncey's known for his character. Chauncey's known for being a quiet, reserved type. He don't have no apparent streaks in him that were apparent. I mean, there's nothing in the world that would tell you that Chauncey Billups would be involved in anything illegal or unseemly. So it's really difficult to believe. Now, Chauncey just re-upped here in Portland, and I was really, really advocating for him to be extended. I feel like Chauncey was excellent at developing young players and that he was starting to make his mark defensively as a head coach here in Portland right now. This team that he has right now is about to break out. You guys may have seen what I posted about the Trailblazers, but they're going to have a breakout season. Regardless of this incident, they're going to have a breakout season. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult now with interim head coach Tiago Splitter, who may or may not stay on permanently. Personally, I hope that the Blazers go out and try to hire Mike Malone or Tom Thibodeau. I do not want an inexperienced coach with this young roster. We need a seasoned veteran head coach. Mike Malone is a world champion. Obviously, he should be at the top of the list. Tom Thibodeau's the main criticism people have of Tom Thibodeau is that he runs his players into the ground. Well, we got a young team, extremely young, and you're not going to run them into the ground. So Thibodeau is another good replacement. But as far as Chauncey Billups is concerned, disappointment is the first word that comes to mind, man. I'm a fan of Chauncey Billups. Watched him play at Colorado, watched him play at Detroit, watched him play at Denver. And for him to become our head coach was like it was like a fantasy pick. I didn't expect it, but I was happy when he became our head coach. And I was happy with the way he handled himself completely here in Portland. Not a media pressure city at all when it comes to sports, but he handled himself very well as a head coach. And this is a slap in the face, man. I don't know what to say other than I'm extremely disappointed in Chauncey Billups as a man. You're a multimillionaire. How much money do you need? You got to sit there and be a ringer for people at poker games. I mean, you probably are in debt to some people and got set up, and that's why you're in this deal. But how do you become indebted and you're making $9-10 million a year, man? It's greed. It's another typical case of American greed. People cannot get enough. There's other people out here working their asses off and get next to nothing. People who, got the degrees that'll never see multi-million dollars a year, that are working 60, 70 hours a week, raising their kids the hard way, don't have servants, don't have maids. Your greedy ass got to go try to get even more illegally when you're making $9-10 million a year legally. It just don't make sense, man. It don't. Unless you got into some shit and you owe these people money and they forced you into it, which is likely going to come up for some of these guys, especially in Billups's instance where he's involved with the four crime families of New York. Man, this is a huge problem. A huge problem. I feel justified in some ways because I have always been against sports gambling. I always knew sports gambling would lead to this kind of stuff, legalized sports betting. And it's just put everything on steroids, man. Maybe we got to go through a period where athletes see they can't get away with this stuff, coaches included, and then people will stop tripping. But I doubt it. Somebody's always going to try to game it. Somebody's always going to try to get over. But for this to be the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, who just got a multi-year, double-digit $1 million extension, $25-30 million extension, Chauncey Billups, you are an absolutely ridiculous clown if you are not being extorted into this position. If you did this voluntarily, you're an absolute clown and a greedy bastard who doesn't deserve his job. And it's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking. I have a lot of hope for my Trailblazers this season. And I hope that Tiago Splitter can, do the team justice. But it's ugly. And just to clarify, Billups was found, or at least is being accused of being a ringer in poker games. So they will invite certain people to play a high stakes poker game with XYZ athlete, famous person or athlete. That was his job in this criminal ring, was to attract the clients as a famous person. So whether he knew that is going to be critical. The FBI would not have arrested him if they didn't think he had knowledge of what was going on. And then you saw the x-ray machines that they were using. They showed pictures of the x-ray machines where they're looking at the cards while they're face down. The shuffling machine, the card dealing machine was rigged. I mean, it was horrible what they were doing to people. Yeah, they were setting people up big time. So, Chauncey, I don't know if Chauncey had knowledge of it, but again, the FBI typically won't come after you unless they believe you do, or unless they're going to use you to roll up on other people, which is entirely possible in this scenario, right? Chauncey's probably going to be leveraged against somebody higher up to save his bacon, but his bacon will only be saved criminally. His reputation is fucked, pardon my language, but his reputation is fucked and he's done. Salute to my man Hoop Jargon. He's done. And it's man, as a Portlander, as a Trailblazers fan, I've never had a more sad day. Never. Not Damian Lillard getting traded, not Greg Oden's knees, not LaMarcus Aldridge leaving, nothing. Not losing in the Western Conference Finals, nothing. As a Trailblazers fan, has been more heartbreaking than this shit. All right. And I just went through this with Ime Udoka a couple years ago in Boston, so I have some familiarity with it. Hoop Jargon asked, do I think Gilbert started it? I think Gilbert is snitching. Yeah, I think Gilbert is snitching. He said he was going to snitch. He said he had no problem snitching, so I'm sure he is, but they're all going to snitch in the end. They don't want Chauncey Billups. They want the Genoveses. They want the crime bosses and the crime families in New York. And just like every other RICO, charge, that eventually it will be a RICO charge against these folks, they'll use the little fish to trap the big fish, basically. They'll cut them loose after they testify. But of course, are you going to testify against the mob? Are you going to testify against the mafia? That is the situation that Chauncey Billups now finds himself in. So it's death or dishonor it could be death or dishonor for Chauncey Billups at this point. People are saying that this is going to be a movie. I agree. This is the stuff that movies are made of, and we're just learning. This is the tip of the iceberg. I think there's going to be a lot more famous people that we all know and love that are going to get caught up in this dragnet. But the second they legalize sports betting in this country, this was always going to be the result. Inevitable that this was going to happen. Just there was a reason that it was illegal for all that time. And it was a good reason. Now that the cat's out of the bag, ain't no putting it back in. It's big business now. Nobody's going to stop it. It's just like legal cannabis. 33 states have recreational or legalized cannabis. The federal government's not going to try to put that genie back in the bottle. The money's flowing. They would damage the economy if they did that. So now the sports economy is integrated with the gambling systems to the degree that you can't even watch sports coverage anymore without getting an over and under, a money line. Everything is based around prop bets. And it's ridiculous, honestly. You got guys out there faking injuries and stuff. Terry Rozier disgracing the game of basketball. Terry Rozier is a very talented guard. Somebody that, had he taken his career a little bit more seriously, Terry Rozier could be a star in this league. But Terry Rozier is a knucklehead from Youngstown, more or less. And a knucklehead from Youngstown is going to be a knucklehead from Youngstown. So, Scary Terry, I'm not surprised. The other guy, the former Heat player, he played with LeBron James. One of his bets, or that he helped to prop up, was about LeBron James. So LeBron's caught up in this in name only. I don't think LeBron's going to be implicated in any way. LeBron ain't that stupid, and if he is, he really deserves it. But it's just sad to see, man. Aaron Gordon, brother. Don't forget the Porters. Jonte Porter got banned from the league. He's playing in Europe now. A few other players have gotten either suspended. Malik Beasley is suspended right now. No, actually, he's off suspension, but he doesn't have a team. He's kind of out of the league right now. But I think they said Malik Beasley's off the hook. It's just that he's teamless. So that's the situation, man. It's nasty. It really is. I didn't really prepare like I wanted to tonight, so I'm just going to quickly cover one or two more topics, especially about Donald Trump before I go. There's a few things that I need to say about what's going on in Washington. It's hard to keep up with it. Every day is like a new nightmare. But the thing that bothered me most this week was this fool deciding to pay himself $230 million out of the Justice Department for pain and suffering of our money, my money, your money. The president is literally raiding the Treasury at whim. He has created an excuse, a reason of his own imagination, not through any legal process, to require the Justice Department to pay him $230 million for his pain and suffering because the Justice Department dared to prosecute him for being a criminal. Let that sink in. Yesterday, Donald Trump and his acolytes, especially Stephen Miller, sat there and basically bragged about how close they were to ending democracy in this country. They literally, Steve Bannon sat on TV and is arguing that they will have him on the ballot in 2028, which is illegal. The government shut down, and you're spending $200 million on a ballroom for Donald Trump, who doesn't plan to leave. Look, man, we're not going to get into left-wing, right-wing stuff here tonight, and I'm only going to speak briefly about what's going on. But if you're an American at all, and you watch the president make $10 billion in 9 months, receive a $400 million jet that's going to cost $1 billion of your money to refit for use, tear down the East Wing of the White House and build a gaudy $200 million gold ballroom, destroy the Voting Rights Act, damn near destroy the Civil Rights Act. Basically, every piece of progress that's been made in the past 60 years since Dr. King is being reversed systemically. We are 50% through Project 2025, and it's accelerating. I live in a city that is going to be occupied by Texas National Guard. Portland. That's an act of civil war. What would happen if Governor Brown said, "You have no authority in my state. I am going to deploy the Oregon National Guard to get the Texas National Guard out of Oregon"? That is a civil war. What Donald Trump is doing right now is provocation to civil war. He wants us to do it. I'm afraid he's going to get his way. You and I are getting nothing, absolutely nothing for our tax dollars, but 17 million people getting kicked off of health care. While this guy has made $10 billion in 9 months and is now demanding another $250 million of my money and your money, and has gotten a $400 million jet and is building a $200 million ballroom. All of this spending, all this ostentatious gold-plated shit that was entirely predictable. If you ever saw his Trump Tower, you knew what he was going to do. Donald Trump is moving in permanently. You are now living in a dictatorship in the United States of America. That's your reality now. You have wholly unqualified people leading almost every branch of your government. And you have the Department of Homeland Security tweeting remigrate, white supremacist, ethnic cleansing terminology. For those of you who thought you were cute, who thought you were too good, Kamala wasn't black enough for you, you couldn't vote for a woman, you didn't like the way she laughed, somehow she was unqualified even though she was vice president of the United States for 4 years. For all of you who made an excuse not to vote for that black Indian woman, I hope you're suffering in some way. I hope the repercussions of what you decided are being visited upon you now. And if not, I hope they will be in the near future, because I'll tell you who they're hurting. They ain't hurting me. They're hurting the poor people in this country. If you make less than $80,000 a year, $70,000 a year, $60,000 a year in this country, you're getting kneecapped horribly right now. Your medical expenses are going to go up. Your premiums are going to go up. Everything. See, when food goes up 10%, it doesn't hurt people like me. It doesn't hurt high income earners. It hurts poor people. When gas goes up to $6 a gallon, people like me go, there's no traffic. That's great. Poor people are sweating $6 a gallon. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you that these are the realities that you voted for. You got Donald Trump giving Argentina $40 billion of taxpayer money while cutting 17 million Americans off of Medicare within 9 months. You have American farmers going bankrupt, something like 25 farms a day going bankrupt, while Donald Trump is now declaring that instead of buying American beef, maybe we'll buy Argentine beef. Donald Trump is setting up his own global power structure with your money. Your money. He is selling out every part of this country. Gerrymandering, destroying the Voting Rights Act so they can claim more seats in Congress. This is all a move to lock in one-party rule, dictatorship, totalitarianism, and it's happening faster than most Americans realize that it ever would or could. But make no mistake, the end is here. We are not going to have free and fair elections. They bought the voting systems. They did. They bought the voting systems. It's not going to be a fair election. We are going to have to literally overwhelm them every single time in order to affect any sort of change. The only good news for decent people in America is that Donald Trump is such an idiot that he's destined to fail. And the people around him are destined to fail because of him. The only question is how much national reputation damage and how many lives will he cost? How much treasury will he take? And how much can we claw back when he's done? Because I can tell you, I've never had lust for retribution or revenge against Republicans the way I do now. And if Democrats got into power tomorrow, I would be on their necks to prosecute as many Republicans as they could. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. I tend to vote Democratic. I've never voted for a Republican, and I never would vote for this iteration of the Republican Party. As a black man, you'd have to be a fool. I'm sorry, but you'd have to be a fool to vote with Nazis and Klansmen and Oath Keepers. Come on now. 3%ers, neo-Nazis. That's who you're associating with, and they're letting you know. The Nick Fuenteses of the world, they're letting you know. So, I don't know what to tell you, man. You voted for the destruction of your own country. You voted to turn this into a kleptocracy. And this country's going to be bankrupted just like all of Donald Trump's other businesses. Before I go, let me give you a little bit of advice. I'm not a financial professional, so take this with a grain of salt. But every spare dollar you have, you need to have a Coinbase account, and you need to put every spare dollar you have into that Coinbase account, into crypto. Put it all into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, whatever. Put it into crypto ASAP, because the US dollar is going to be worthless And all of us at some point, if you ask me, all of us are going to be taking our paychecks and converting them into Bitcoin because that'll be the only way to appreciate the value of your money. The US dollar is not going to be the gold standard for this world anymore. You should all see that coming. So that's my last word for you tonight is get some crypto, hold on to it is for dear life. If it ain't nothing but $1,000, $500, whatever you can buy fractional shares of Bitcoin. Just go get some crypto and then forget about it. All right? Forget about it for as long as you can. Anyway, it's your man Zen Master, Pass the Joint Podcast. I'm sorry we didn't have a studio show tonight, but I got busy. This Chauncey Billups thing is a trip, but it's just sports. And coach, if you're out there, man, and you see this, I just want you to get yourself together because you're too old for this, man. You're too old for this, Chauncey, and too wealthy for this. And you just screwed up your career. Now, we saw Ime Udoka come back from a terrible incident. Maybe we'll get to see Chauncey Billups clear his name and come back as well. But as far as the Portland Trailblazers are concerned, he's no longer our head coach. And the Trailblazers are officially on the clock. We'll see y'all in the next go-round. Peace.